Sporto.
And then they turn right again over a very bumpy little tricky right-hander and on back onto the pit straight. But now, of course, you see Mansell having a little squirt there just to warm his rear tyres up, practicing his start. Senna coming along on the left, further back, and they'll be putting the field on fairly slowly so that they bunch up properly and he doesn't have to sit there with the car in gear, the clutch snagging, and, of course, the radiators getting hotter.
Directly in front of me, Derek Ongaro, the British official starter of all the Grand Prix, watching the competitors getting into line, watching for those notices to be organised for them to show the course is clear. 78 laps. Up to the notorious Sandervot, and the first men are through. Johansson is through, and right down at the bottom is Derek Warwick in the Renault, who looks as though he's in Tombay, Patrick Tombay. He's got no further in the 1985 Grand Prix than he did in 1984, because at this very corner last year, Patrick Tombay went off. He went into René Arnoux' Ferrari, and he stopped again. And it's Senna leading. In second position is Nigel Mansell. Then it is Michele Alboreto as they go round the portier, and Senna has done exactly what he wanted to do, and boots, that's Berger. Berger is out of the race in the Arrows on lap 1, so 2 men of the 20 who started are out of the Monaco Grand Prix before 1 lap is even completed, and they stream through the chicane with Eddie Cheever well up. 18 contestants left. And now Senna will be piling on all the power he can to try and get a breakaway, with Nigel Mansell in second place, Michele Alboreto in third position in the Ferrari, coming through to complete lap 1 out of 78.
And Alan Prost is already in 4th place. He was very fast in the warm-up this morning. He was quickest. And Alboreto having a look. Alboreto through. Michele Alboreto gave it everything he could on the braking manoeuvre. He got past Mansell, and he had a big snake. He locked his rear brake. The car went a little bit all over the place, but he's through and okay. And there is Alboreto now chasing.
And Stefan Johansson, who didn't qualify very well after all sorts of problems, as you can see, in the pits, because he was involved in that coming together on the first lap. And so now it is Ayrton Senna leading, and Michele Alboreto trying to prevent the Brazilian from making the break at the early part of the race that he so very much wanted to do. Senna led by 1.7 seconds at the end of the first lap. 3 drivers already effectively out of the race: Berger, Tombay and Johansson. Senna leads. The man who won at Portugal was leading at San Marino until he had problems running out of fuel. De Angelis then took second place, and there is the pile-up behind the first 2 cars as the leader goes round the La Rascat. Senna, by the way, has got a special low first gear, which he had flown in last night, and the gap at the end of the second lap between Senna and Alboreto is still 1.7 seconds. And Prost is going up into third position. Prost is third now, ahead of Nigel Mansell, who's dropping back, and you see coming towards you the red and white Barbara McLaren. So it's the JPS Motors Renault of Senna leading. Alboreto, the Ferrari, is in second place. There he is, and he's closing, and Prost is third.
And Nigel Mansell, I should say, is driving very sensibly, because it seems that he's not quite up with the pace. And one of the fears that a lot of the drivers had, and the pundits around the circuit, was that Mansell might hold people up and allow the leaders to get away if they could. And here we see the first corner, and you see Senna going through, Prost coming down the inside, squeezing inside, a fairly risky manoeuvre. But by and large, they got through. And there's the little bit of the messy bit with the Renaults going off, and that's Tombe, the car damaged. But Mansell is being very good. He let Prost go through then, which was sensible if he can't keep up.
Ayrton Senna leading then. Alboreto in second place. There he is. In third position, it is Alain Prost. Fourth now, as Johansson is still in the pits in fourth position, and they're going through. There is Alboreto second. Now there's a long gap before Prost comes through in third place. It's Eddie Cheever in fourth place. Nigel Mansell is in fifth place. Elio Di Angelo is in sixth position, and Nicky Rosberg is in seventh place. Derek Warwick is in 10th position. Jonathan Palmer is in 17th place. And Martin Brundle is 15th ahead of Palmer, and you can see for yourself now that on lap 4, Alboreto is right up with the leader, Ayrton Senna.
Yes, the pattern of the race now seems to be developing. It seems to be a bit of a two-man race between Senna and Alboreto, but Alain Prost is now in third place, and I don't think he'll be chasing just yet. McLaren have taken a little bit of a risk with their tyres. They've gambled on a fairly soft compound, and Prost, I think, will be anxious to nurse his tyres at this stage, more anxious to do that than to chase the leaders. I think he'll be waiting for that. Of course, he's got Cheever climbing all over the back of him, so he'll have to watch out for that, but he will be looking after his tyres.
So this is the end of lap 4. Senna leading. Alboreto second. Alboreto, who was second in Brazil, second in Portugal, second in the World Championship. Into the right-hander at Saint-Devant. Now they climb up the hill. Still, Prost is third. Cheever is fourth. That is Stefan Johansson leaning over his car. Bitterly disappointed. Ayrton Senna then. His problem now is knowing exactly where Michele Alboreto is, i.e. right behind him. He can see him in his mirrors. To make sure that he sticks to his racing line, gives Alboreto no chance to get past, makes it very difficult indeed for the Italian in the Ferrari. And provided he does that, it is indeed going to be difficult for Michele to get through.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely right, Murray. Senna, who's a very mature driver despite his relative inexperience, will be concentrating much more on keeping it smooth and making no mistakes rather than attacking. He's already seen that Alboreto keep up, but Prost is hauling them in really fast. Prost has absolutely romped away from Eddie Cheever, and he will shortly be joining the leading two, so we're going to have a three-way battle for the lead.
Well, it was some 6 seconds between Alboreto and Prost previously. I've got the stopwatch running on the gap now. And as Prost goes by, it's 5.5 seconds. So Prost is gaining fast. Cheever is still in fourth position. De Angelis is up to fifth. Nigel Mansell down to sixth. Lap 6 then, Senna, Alboreto, Prost gaining fast in third position. Then Eddie Cheever, fourth in the Alfa Romeo. An absolutely rejuvenated Alfa Romeo because it has the new Bosch Motronic engine management system on it. They've improved the handling. It was very quick in practice, and Eddie Cheever is a happy man this year for the first time. And as you see, that time of 1 minute 24.7 by Michele Alboreto, the fastest lap of the race, has, as I forecast, shattered Patrese 1982 lap record. It is nearly 2 seconds faster. But Senna is making the pace. He's keeping a healthy gap in racing terms between himself and Alboreto, and giving Prost the chance to catch the two cars in front. And there is the little Frenchman. Cheever fourth, De Angelis fifth, Rosberg sixth, down to seventh place has gone Mansell, eighth is Boutsen, ninth is De Cesaris, 10th is Warwick, 11th Patrese, 12th is Lauda. And as you look at Prost, the gap between Alboreto second and Prost third is still 5.6 seconds. Prost into the climb up to the Hotel de Paris. Giva fourth. Fifth. Mansell sixth. Tyres, as usual, are going to be a critical factor. Ayrton Senna, like all the other competitors in this race, has got an extra hard right rear car. Martin Brundle, by the way, is going well. He did an absolutely dynamic race at the lap at the end of practice yesterday to qualify in 18th position, faster than several of the turbos. And at the present moment, he's in 17th position. Senna, like virtually all the lead drivers in this Monaco Grand Prix, an ex-karts champion, maintaining that gap between himself and Alboreto. So Senna in the JPS Lotus Renault, the V6 turbocharged Renault engine powering the Lotus, and there is Eddie Cheever in fourth position with Elio De Angelis catching him in fifth place. Sixth behind De Angelis is Rosberg, then Mansell seventh. The leaders complete their seventh lap. And there is De Angelis catching Cheever, fourth and fifth. The gap, Prost is now dropping back a bit. He's 5.9 seconds behind Alboreto.
Well, I don't think I've ever seen anybody overtake that before. And that was a spectacular overtaking manoeuvre by De Angelis. In fact, I think Cheever's probably in trouble because he slowed down and Rosberg went through as well. So I think Cheever's day is coming to some sort of an end.
Yes, Elio De Angelis up to fourth place, and he's got an enormous amount of needle as Jonathan Palmer goes past in 18th position behind Martin Brundle. And look at this as Elio De Angelis takes Eddie Cheever in the Alfa Romeo. The Italian driver passes the Italian car, and up into fourth place goes De Angelis.
So I might revise that view because, of course, Cheever then lost so much speed through there that it allowed Rosberg, as you see now, to come around the outside. So I said I thought he was in trouble. I think what happened, in fact, having seen that action replay, is that De Angelis jumped him and took him by surprise, and that caused the loss of momentum that allowed Rosberg to get past as well. There is Rosberg around the swimming pool section. There is De Angelis.
Race order, lap 9. Senna leads, Alboreto second. In third position is Prost. In fourth position now, De Angelis. So both the JPS Lotus Renault cars are in four places. In fifth position, in fifth place is Keke Rosberg, and Cheever driving into the pits, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if it's gone out of the race. Eddie Cheever then, who started off in such an optimistic mood, is finishing the race in a state of acute pessimism to join Stefan Johansson, Patrick Tambay and Gerhard Berger, who are out on the 9th lap. Cheever being pushed in. Senna leads, Alboreto second. In third position, it is still Alain Prost, and the gap is steady between Prost in third place and the second place man, Michele Alboreto, in the Ferrari. Fourth, behind Prost, is Elio De Angelis. Fifth is Rosberg. Sixth is Mansell. 2 JPS Lotus Renaults, 2 Williams Hondas in the first 6, with the Ferrari of Alboreto and the McLaren of Prost. And as you look at a steady, stricken Eddie Cheever, obviously very fed up, and now you look at Thierry Boutsen being chased by De Cesaris, and they are in 7th and 8th positions, and Derek Warwick, who is in 9th position, coming out of La Rascasse. I will tell you that Ayrton Senna is increasing the gap. Ayrton Senna is increasing the gap in the lead between himself and Michele Alboreto. It is now 1.2 seconds between the leader, Senna, in the JPS Lotus Renault and Michele Alboreto in the Ferrari. But look at Boutsen, De Cesaris and Derek Warwick, 7th, 8th and 9th, coming down to Lowe's Station hairpin, chasing Nigel Mansell. Nigel Mansell 6th, behind his teammate Keke Rosberg.
Yeah, Senna just seems to be getting the edge now up front, although Alboreto is running pretty much with him. He's not really climbing all over the back of him, and I think and the leaders have just gone past us, and there is a little bit of a gap developing. So Alboreto is now having to work hard to hold off.
Jonathan Palmer going well. He's in 16th place behind Martin Brundle, who is 15th. Derek Warwick is in 9th position. Nigel Mansell is 6th. And has just completed his 10th lap. World champion Niki Lauda is in only 11th place, struggling up through the field, having started 14th after a very fraught practice when he was held up, he claims, by Ayrton Senna on his fast lap, and there was a lot of controversy over that. Down to the station hairpin. Boutsen, De Cesaris, Warwick, the two Renault engine-powered cars chasing the BMW-powered car, the arrows of Boutsen.
Yes, that was... Ayrton Senna lost quite a lot of friends in qualifying yesterday, because having done his quick lap on his qualifying tyres, he then stayed out on the circuit and sort of tooled around slowly, getting in other people's way when they were on their quick lap. Now, there's no rules written about that, but there are sort of gentleman's principles, and Ayrton, in fact, exceeded the requirements of those principles, so he got himself a little bit unpopular yesterday.
Eddie Cheever went out with electrical problems, and Ayrton Senna has now increased his lead over Alboreto to 3.3 seconds. Whilst Alboreto is 5 seconds ahead of Prost. And Niki Lauda has broken clear of the bunch that he was in. He is in 11th position, closing up on Patrese, who is 10th. Warwick, who is 9th. And Martin Brundle is still going well in that 15th position ahead of Palmer. Boutsen, De Cesaris and Warwick, 7th, 8th and 9th, coming down to the station hairpin.
And that's Lauda just came into the picture then in the background, and Lauda is now closing fast on this group of three. But that's going to be very interesting, because it's going to be extremely difficult for Lauda to get past, because, as we've said before, the circuit is so tight that without the driver in front of you making some sort of an actual mistake, there really isn't a place to pass unless you want to shut your eyes and take your chances.
Lap 12, Senna is now 4.1 seconds ahead, and Alboreto is 5 seconds ahead of Prost in 3rd position, 4th De Angelis, 5th Rosberg, 6th Mansell. De Angelis all on his own, and there is the charger, the world champion Niki Lauda, and good news for Toleman fans, because Teo Fabi, who just qualified, is doing extremely well. He's in 14th place out of the 18 people who were running at one time. After Torbay went out at the beginning of the race, and Johansson, and Lauda is closing fast.
Well, the pattern of the race is now definitely developing. Ayrton Senna taking it reasonably steady up front, is now proving a little bit too fast for Michele Alboreto, who's some 3 or 4 seconds down on him, and there's that fearsome battle, the 7th place, with Lauda about to catch them and to make that a 4-way battle. But Senna is now clearly establishing himself in front. Alboreto is dropping back a little bit, and Prost is really making no impression on Ayrton Senna. He's racing very much level with Alboreto. He's some 5 seconds behind.
And there's a change of lead because Michele Alboreto has passed Ayrton Senna right in front of our position here, with Lauda catching up fast.
Yes, and Ayrton Senna's in trouble because there was a lot of smoke coming from the back of his car, so Ayrton Senna looks to be in engine or turbo trouble. So,
well, that is the sensation of the race so far. Ayrton Senna, who led in such a distinguished way, has lost the lead. There you see Alboreto going in. And now Alain Prost in the red and white car is right up with Senna, who signals to Prost to go past. The Frenchman does so. And now on lap 14 out of 78, Ayrton Senna is touring in, I suspect, to retire. And now Alain Prost, last year's winner in those dreadful weather conditions, has got to set about trying to catch the man who has always been the favourite for this race, Michele Alboreto.
Yes, and we had a good picture then of the smoke coming from the back of Senna's car, and I would suspect that that is a blown turbo.
Well, whatever it is, Senna's race is effectively finished, the second race in succession. But now we keep a very careful eye on Niki Lauda. You will have noticed probably that he's already passed Riccardo Patrese, and now the gap between Michele Alboreto, who has completed 14 laps, and Alain Prost, who is going through, is 7 seconds. There is the new race leader, 3 race victories in the past. And Elio De Angelis, of course, is up into 3rd place. That's the World Championship leader. And De Angelis, who in the past has been consistent rather than a race winner, is leading the World Championship, with now Keke Rosberg up into 4th place. Nigel Mansell is in 5th position. And there, the Ayrton JPS Lotus Renault in the pits with the engine cover and the cockpit cover up off him, while they try to see what the damage is. And as ever, Senna sits imperturbably in the car. Lap 15 out of 78, Alboreto leads Prost by some 7 seconds, with De Angelis up to 3rd, Rosberg up to 4th, Mansell up to 5th. In 6th position now, it's De Cesaris. In 7th position, it is Derek Warwick. Behind Derek Warwick in 8th place and gaining is Niki Lauda. 9th is Riccardo Patrese. 10th is Nelson Piquet. 11th is Jacques Lafitte. And in 12th position, it is Theo Fabi in the Tolman. Senna can only hope for the fastest lap now, but Michele Alboreto can not only hope for victory, but he could be hoping to take the lead in the World Championship. Elio De Angelis at the present moment is leading Alboreto by 5 points in the World Championship. Rosberg goes through, his Williams Honda sounding very crisp. Nigel Mansell the same. But now, De Cesaris in 6th place is gaining on Nigel Mansell. De Cesaris in the new lightweight Ligier, and Theo Fabi is right up with Lafitte, Piquet and Patrese. With Martin Brundle now in 12th position.
Well, up at the front, we've got pretty much a stagnant situation at the moment. There is Prost going through around by the swimming pool section, and he's really not making as Alboreto now. He's about 7 seconds clear of Prost, and they seem to be fairly stalemated. There's not much change in the gap, so Alboreto is fending Prost off, but Prost may be just looking after his tyre. Well, I said earlier that he was on a marginally soft compound, and he needs to give it a good... If that is the case, he'll be more concerned about nursing his tyres for the first 20 or 25 laps before he starts charging. And he's got Alboreto very much in his sight. He knows where he is. 7 seconds away is not a big gap. There's a long way to go. And Prost is driving very maturely these days. He's thinking carefully, which is... how he was first across the line in Italy, although unfortunately for him the car was underweight, which has nothing to do with him, but he drove a very intelligent race.
And that's Piquet's car and Patrese going off. Riccardo Patrese in the Alfa Romeo, and this is lap 17, and Piquet and Patrese both out, and that is Fabi's car. So Piquet, Patrese and Fabi in a tremendous coming together at Saint-Devote, all out of the race. Now, how are they? Well, the cockpit of the Brabham is empty, the cockpit of the Alfa Romeo is empty, and that was Nelson Piquet trying to get through on the inside at Saint-Devote.
Well, as I saw it, then we'll see a replay, I hope, in a moment. And that is Alboreto. So Alboreto has spun on the mess. Presumably, I think they put some oil down. So Alboreto, there goes Prost through into the lead. So Alboreto has spun his lead away in all that excitement. But Piquet was definitely alongside Patrese, and I have to say, I think Patrese drove into him. I'd like to see the replay, but Piquet was certainly behaving himself, and here we are now. Nelson Piquet comes alongside, and Patrese is squeezing Piquet and pushed him into the barrier. There's no doubt about that Patrese shut the door on Piquet, and Piquet's wheels got wheels flying off everywhere. The car actually finished up with only one wheel on, which is quite a good result, really.
And now, look, if we stay with the replay this long, to see Teo Fabi's Tolman appear into the picture with the Alfa Romeo on the right, and there is Niki Lauda's car. So Lauda has obviously spun at exactly the same place, and he's out of the race because they're getting the crane to lift Niki Lauda's car.
With all that excitement happening there, I would think that all the excitement put some oil down. So I would think that when Piquet and Patrese made contact, there was oil put onto the track. I'm looking down the track, and I can't see any. But yes, the oil flag is going up, albeit rather late. But there is an oil flag at the first corner.
And with now definitely 8 out of the 20 cars out of the race on lap 18, let's look at the position. Well, leading is Alain Prost in the McLaren. In second position, despite his spin, is Michele Alboreto. Third is Elio De Angelis, who managed to keep going. Coming through now in fourth position, it is Keke Rosberg. As you look at the new race leader, Alain Prost, with Alboreto leading him. And he's coming up to Lafitte. He being crossed. Now, Jacques Lafitte is well down the field. He's in 12th position. And his car is a heavier one than De Cesaris is, his Ligier. And Alboreto is stung into action. He made a magnificent recovery on the 19th lap out of 78. And soon we're going to be seeing a really exciting battle for the lead between last year's winner, Prost, who takes Lafitte on the entrance to the swimming pool section. And Lafitte will undoubtedly let Alboreto through, and he does so, and you can see the gap yourself as Prost comes up to Jonathan Palmer in the Zach Speed car, and Palmer is now in 11th position.
Yes, it was a very quick spin by Alboreto, because he only lost about 9 or 10 seconds on the road. But it's really livened the race up, because these two, as we were saying just before all this excitement happened, they're the yellow and red stripe flags. They are the oil flags to denote that, not necessarily oil, but you can in fact see that slippery patch there just as they turn into the corner at Saint-Devote. There's a big oil stick there, but not so much in the braking area. Anyway, it's livened up the race for us, because we now have the two leaders nose to tail, and Alboreto is definitely a man with a bit of adrenaline going around him.
Meantime, Prost benefited from that multiple coming together. He is up into 9th position. Niki Lauda is 8th. Derek Warwick is in 7th place, and you're looking at the battle for the lead on lap 20, with Michele Alboreto having recovered, closed right up with Alain Prost, and the race order is Prost leading, Alboreto second. De Angelis is in 3rd place ahead of 4th man Rosberg. Up into 5th position has gone De Cesaris. In 6th position is Derek Warwick. In 7th place is Nigel Mansell. And Brundle is now into 8th place as I talk to you. And look at Alboreto swarming all over Alain Prost gearbox.
That's right. Look, he's really looking for a way through. He's all over him like a rash. So the adrenaline charge from his mistake has really stung Alboreto into hyperaction. And along here, I don't think he'll be trying to pass into Sandoval. And there's Nelson Piquet looking pretty unhappy. He's walking back, and I think he'll feel more than a little bit miffed. And Alboreto is... Oh, he's really having a go, Michele Alboreto. And I think probably that he'd be wise not to rush it. He's got a lot of laps left to go yet, and there's no need to climb all over Prost too quickly.
Big form this season. That's Riccardo Patrese explaining, probably somewhat heatedly, what happened. There seems little doubt that it was Patrese that caused the accident, which took Piquet out, and it looked as though Piquet's suspension broke when he hit the Armco from the way the bottom of his car was dragging along the ground and creating that tremendous shower of sparks. But now, lap 21, a stirring battle for the lead. Last year's winner, Alain Prost, who very much needs World Championship points. He's 4th equal in the championship with 9 points from his win at Brazil, and he didn't score at all in Portugal or San Marino, whereas Michele Alboreto, who is 2nd in the championship, behind Elio De Angelis, who, by the way, is 3rd in the race. And Alboreto challenging hard. So Alboreto 2nd, right up with Alain Prost, the race leader. Elio De Angelis in 3rd place. Keke Rosberg is in 4th position. Andre De Cesaris is in 5th place. And there go the leaders. Down to the right-hander at the Mirabeau. Then probably the most famous shot of all in motor racing, the station hairpin. Accelerating away down, now in 2nd gear. Round, and that's Niki Lauda. Niki Lauda walking in, and out of the race, Berger, Tombe, Johansson, Chiva, Piquet, Patrese, Fabi, and Niki Lauda. This is race 22. There are the leaders, Prost, Alboreto, De Angelis, and you can see how close they are. Rosberg 4th, De Cesaris 5th, Derek Warwick, the leading British driver, in 6th position. Martin Brundle is in 8th position, and Nigel Mansell is 7th. So British drivers 6th, 7th, and 8th. Brundle driving a magnificent race. He's ahead of Thierry Boutsen in the turbocharged Arrows. That is Elio De Angelis, who is 3rd. And De Cesaris, while all this is going on, in the Ligier on the Pirelli tyres, is closing up on Rosberg, the leader.
You see just now the apex of the corner, you just get a glimpse. You can see where the track is a little bit shiny, and that is the oil from that coming together between Piquet and Patrese. And that's what tripped Alboreto up. It tripped Lauda out of the race completely because he spun on it and hit the barrier, and tripped quite a good few others up.
Round the portiere again, into the tunnel again. And as they go into the tunnel, the 4th place man, Keke Rosberg, has started his 23rd lap, going well in the Williams. Nigel Mansell is still running. Effectively, there are 9 people in the race out of the 20 who started. Those are the 9 who are all on the same lap, and they are Prost leading. There he is. Alboreto behind him 2nd. De Angelis 3rd. Rosberg is in 4th place. De Cesaris is 5th. Warwick is 6th. Mansell is 7th. In 8th position is Brundle, and Alboreto now has got an opportunity to get closer still to Alain Prost on acceleration as he comes through to complete his 23rd lap. And he's through! Michele Alboreto has done it, and at Saint-Devote on the new lap surges through and takes the lead back from Alain Prost. And look at the gap he's already extended over the Frenchman's McLaren. Michele Alboreto is without doubt the fastest man in the race and showing it.
That was a wonderful piece of driving. Alboreto actually drove around the outside of Alain Prost, and it was also a very fine piece of driving from Prost because he saw what was happening. Here we are again. Now Prost has to really control his car very well, not to drive into Alboreto. Now, you'll see Prost lock his brakes a bit, trying to avoid Alboreto. Little puff of smoke there as he locks his brakes, and that was really outstanding driving by both of them.
Well, we're coming up to 1/3 distance in this Monaco Grand Prix. Coming up to it, we're on lap 24 now out of 78. And Michele Alboreto, who took the lead from Ayrton Senna in the early stages, is extending his lead as Niki Lauda packs up, ready to take his plane back to Ibiza. He's always the fastest man away from the circuit if he doesn't finish the race, and he's going to do it again. And now Michele Alboreto comes through at the end of lap 24 in the lead again from Prost. There are not nearly as many Italian spectators at Monaco as there usually are because the race at one time wasn't going to be held. And they're going to be very sorry they're not here. But as you look at Jonathan Palmer now, who's in 11th position, going well in the Zach Speed. He's one lap behind the race leaders, and he's gone further in a Grand Prix in the Zach Speed than he's ever gone before, because he failed to do even one lap in both Portugal and San Marino. But at Lowe's, it's Alboreto, then Prost. The gap between Prost and Elio De Angelis, who is in 3rd position, is now some 12 seconds. So this is the race. Ferrari are normally famous for their reliability. This car is certainly the prettiest car in Grand Prix racing now, in my opinion. And if they keep up their famed reliability, even Alain Prost is going to have his time cut out to close with, let alone get past Michele Alboreto.
Well, Michele Alboreto, who I've always admired enormously as a driver, put on a charge then that was exceptional even for him. I think the spin gave him a huge bump of adrenaline, and he drove absolutely brilliantly. He climbed all over the back of Prost, and his overtaking manoeuvre was fantastic. But we've got a proper battle joined. The two leaders just gone past our commentary position. That was the horrid noise you heard. And Prost is not letting Alboreto get away. He's holding on really well.
Prost teammate Niki Lauda, the reigning world champion, leaves his 4th Grand Prix yet to score a point in 1985. There goes the battle for 4th position. It's Rosberg. Warwick, so it's 4th, 5th and 6th virtually together. There they go. And Nigel Mansell will come into your picture in a moment. Keep looking back. Well, we just failed to see it, but Keke Rosberg there, the winner in 1983 at Monaco and the 1982 world champion, has got the Ligier, the Pirelli tired Ligier. I emphasize that because, in fact, there are only 4 Pirelli-tired cars in this race, or were when it began. They've had a lot of problems getting the tyres right, but they're getting them better and better, and they've really responded well to the 35 kilograms reduced weight of De Cesaris' Ligier, which is in 5th position. There is Warwick in the leading Renault-powered Renault car, with his teammate Patrick Courtney out on lap 1. Warwick then in 6th position, chasing that man, De Cesaris in the blue Ligier 5th, who is chasing Rosberg. There he is, rounding the swimming pool in the Williams Honda in 4th position. And on lap 27, Alboreto still leads. He leads now by 1.6 seconds from Prost, last year's winner. Prost is 10 seconds ahead of De Angelis. De Angelis is 13 seconds ahead of the 4th place man, Rosberg. That is Theo Fabi, out because of the crash out after driving an exceptionally good race. Theo Fabi. Warwick chasing Rosberg. Rosberg and Warwick sandwiching De Angelis. De Cesaris. And I better correct myself quickly, because you will have noticed, some of you, that Nicky Lauda has in fact scored points. He scored points for a 4th place at San Marino. My apologies to Nicky. But there is Martin Brundle. Now, you should see Thierry Boutsen right behind him shortly. But Brundle, who is in 8th position, is coming into the pit, so he's been passed by Boutsen. And Alboreto goes through.
An interesting battle up front. Alboreto is definitely the dominant partner of these two, but Prost is holding on. He's struggling to hold on. He's really on the limit to keep up. Alboreto at this stage of the race, and here we are, another fastest lap for Alboreto, only marginally faster than before. But of course, remember that the cars still have quite a lot of fuel on board, and as the track softens, the rubber goes down. And the cars get lighter, we will of course expect them to go even quicker.
Nigel Mansell behind these three, driving a good race. He's only just out of the points, having scored points for 5th positions at both Portugal and San Marino. And as the race settles down a little on the 28th lap, with 50 still to go, therefore it's a long, arduous and grueling race. And we look at the 4th, 5th and 6th men. Rosberg's in the Williams Honda, De Cesaris in the Ligier Renault, and Derek Warwick in the Renault-powered Renault. Ahead of them are Alboreto, Prost and De Angelis. And Prost is actually closing slowly on Alboreto. He's got the gap now down to 1.1 seconds. The lap before it was 1.6. The lap before that it was 1. And there's obviously something wrong with the accelerator or the brake or clutch pedals of Brundle's car in the pits.
Yes, I would say that probably what's happening up front is that Alboreto, having tried to get away and failed, is probably consolidating his position and just taking it a little bit more easily. You can't drive this race as a total sprint. It's too far and too hard, so I suspect that Michele Alboreto has done the properly intelligent thing and is relaxing up and giving himself a little bit of a rest, because I don't think these two are going to race each other very hard for a little while. They're going to wait till later in the race to do the hard work. At the moment, I think they're probably taking a bit of a breather, and that has to be done here in Monte Carlo.
While you're watching that, cast your minds back to the first corner of the race when Patrick Tambay went out at the first corner for the 2nd year in succession. For the same reason, a crash. This time, that crash ripped off the front of his car, damaged the brake cylinder, as a result of which he lost brake fluid, and he couldn't even drive back to the pits to get a new front for his car. And there goes Thierry Boutsen, going comparatively slowly as Alboreto goes past. Now, this will give Alboreto a chance to break away a bit, because Boutsen is now holding up Alain Prost in the McLaren. Is Boutsen going to move over and let the Frenchman through? Alain Prost will be metaphorically and probably actually fuming inside the cockpit of the Marlboro McLaren, because now Alboreto on the 30th lap has got a clear track in front of him, and Prost is through. And in fact was not held up very much by Boutsen. Martin Brundle had brake trouble, that's why he went into the pit. Elio De Angelis alone on the circuit, some 12 seconds behind Prost, but 25 seconds behind him. That tremendous battle rages still between Keke Rosberg in 4th position, De Cesaris in 5th, Warwick in 6th, Nigel Mansell is in 7th place, and Thierry Boutsen, who is 8th, has already been lapped, as Martin Brundle, back on the track, has got Alboreto coming up behind him and giving Prost the chance to close.
I think a word should be said about Elio De Angelis, because his driving this year has, in my opinion, been extremely good. I think the arrival of Ayrton Senna in the team and adding to that fact the improvement in the chassis that they've got has really, if you like, brought him to full maturity. Elio De Angelis is driving quicker than he has done before and still maintaining that steady rhythm that he's shown over the last couple of seasons, the ability to finish. And this is, in my opinion, De Angelis' best season by a long way.
Prost with a bit of a charge. He's closing up on Michele Alboreto, as you see. De Angelis still alone, still Rosberg, De Cesaris and Warwick almost locked together for 4th, 5th and 6th places, with De Angelis 3rd. Nigel Mansell is still in 7th position. 8th is still Thierry Boutsen, who's been lapped. 9th is Lafitte. 10th is Jonathan Palmer, who has been lapped only once. 11th is Martin Brundle, who's been lapped twice. And then Lauda is out of the race, as is Patrese, Piquet, Fabi, Senna, Chiva and Johansson. So there are only 11 competitors left out of the 20 who started, and we are not yet even at half distance. Prost chasing Alboreto. Out go the signals.
And we had a good shot of Alan Prost's pit board there, which told him that he was in P2, 2nd place. He was minus 0.9, that's 9/10 of a second behind Alboreto when they previously went past. And more importantly for him, because he can't see him in his mirrors, he's plus 9.1 on Elio De Angelis in 3rd place, and that's important that he should know that. So the pit board says your place and your pluses and minuses usually, and also very often how many laps there are to go. They give you laps to go as well, and believe it or not, those boards are fairly easy to read as you go past, and you can also gather further information by reading other people's boards if they happen to be hanging out as you drive past.
And Derek Warwick is ahead now of Keke Rosberg. And Rosberg was in 4th position, and Prost goes through. Prost retakes that lead from Michele Alboreto on lap 32.
And I think Alboreto's in some sort of trouble. Yes, he's slowed right down. So mechanical trouble for Michele Alboreto has put him out of the lead. He's got a puncture maybe.
Yes, he's got a left rear puncture. He'll come into the pits now. Sorry, a right, and look at it. You see the car, the left rear is absolutely flat.
振りながらミケール・アルボレート、さあタイヤ交換です。ぐにゃぐにゃでしたね今トレッドがね、グッドイヤーのニュータイヤということになります、フェラーリ。今から思うとちょっとゆっくりしすぎじゃないのという気もしてしまいますが。
そうですね、16秒かかりましたもんね、
ミケーレ・アルボレート、タイヤトラブルでまたそのポジションを下げることになってしまいました。またしてもアラン・プロストがここでトップに立っています。
ライバルが次々と消えてってくれてる感じですよね、
そして2位になったデアンジェリスとのギャップは7秒1と今表示がされました。
もうプロストとしてはすごく楽にレースコントロールできますよね、
アラン・プロストがトップに立ちました。そして2番手ロータスのマシンはどうでしょうか。今ようやくサイド試験という感じ、7秒1のギャップがあります。2番手にデ・アンジェリスです。プロストがトップに立って喜ぶコースマーシャルも少なくない、
やはりフランスが近いですからね、というよりも本当にフランスの一部のような場所ですからね。
そうですね、34周目と入っていきましたアラン・プロスト。2番手のデ・アンジェリスは見えてきません。しかしミケーレ・アルボレートもタイヤ交換を行ってコースには戻っています。さあどこで復帰したかということですよね。今画面の表示が出ていますが、表示ではカーナンバー27、3番手になっていますけれども、実際はこれ4番手のようです。
ワービックの前、
そうですね、ワービックの前に入っています。
Fourth and fifth men, absolutely together. Round Sandervots, Alboreto third, Warwick fourth, ahead of Rosberg in fifth position. Behind Rosberg in sixth place then will be Nigel Mansell, and where is De Cesaris? Andrea De Cesaris is in fact in third position. So Andrea De Cesaris has got ahead, and there is Alboreto, fourth. Warwick, fifth. Rosberg, sixth.
Yes, Alboreto had a problem there because they put a brand new right rear tyre on his car, and he would have taken him a lap or so to scrub that in. When the tyres are brand new, they don't work properly till you slid them round for a couple of laps to scrub off that that production finish that they have. And normally one wants the pit stop, in fact, to put on a scrubbed tyre. So fastest lap now goes to Alan Prost. The pace is hotting up, but that's normal. We expect that as the fuel load goes down. But whilst Alboreto was scrubbing in that new left side of the car, yes, left side it was, he was giving De Cesaris a chance not only to get past, but to pull a bit of a gap.
Lap 35. Alain Prost leads. Elio De Angelis second. Andrea De Cesaris third. Michele Alboreto fourth. There he goes. Fifth is Derek Warwick. Sixth is Keke Rosberg. Seventh is Nigel Mansell. They're all on the same lap. Thierry Boutsen is eighth, but has been lapped. Jacques Lafitte is ninth. In 10th position is Jonathan Palmer. Then 3 laps down, but still running, is Martin Brundle, and those are the only runners left. 11 out of 20 on this, the 35th lap, which is just under half distance. Now, Alboreto pulling away a bit from Derek Warwick, but he's got an enormous gap between himself and the race leader Alain Prost, and it rather looks at the moment as though Alain Prost, with 35 laps out of 78 completed, is going to make his second Monaco Grand Prix win in succession, but under very different circumstances from last year's torrentially wet race.
It's interesting to see that now that Alboreto's got going properly, he's scrubbed those new tyres in. I don't think he's going as quickly as he was before. Now that is, there's a technical explanation for that, and that is that they changed only one of his rear tyres. And they have to be matched there. You like normally to match up your pairs of rear tyres because they're never exactly the same diameter, and therefore the tyre that stayed on, and Alboreto has now done an even quicker lap than Alain Prost, so that's a new lap record, but I don't think he's as quick as he was before, relatively.
And Michele Alboreto, as we look at Elio De Angelis, who is in second place, Alboreto is closing on Andrea De Cesaris in third position in the lead here. So there is the World Championship leader, Elio De Angelis, third in Brazil, fourth in Portugal, and of course the winner at San Marino after Alain Prost was disqualified for having an underweight car. Martin Brundle in the background, who's been lapped, but still going well. He's in 11th position. De Angelis. Amazingly consistent, because last year, De Angelis had an absolutely superb season. Third in the World Championship last year. 4 third places, 3 fourth places, 4 fifth places, the 6th place, and very, very few retirements or failures to do really well in a Grand Prix. And Alboreto is going quicker and quicker. 1:24.7, his fastest lap so far, and of course the fastest lap of the race, is well over 2 seconds inside Riccardo Patrese's 1982 lap record. And the gap between the man you're watching, De Angelis, and Prost is about 11 seconds.
Yes, I think I was a little bit hasty there and might have maligned Alboreto a bit, because now that he's got those new tyres scrubbed in, he seems to be really motoring. He's the quickest man on the circuit at the moment, and we might find it interesting to note that Alboreto is 42 seconds behind Alain Prost. because Alboreto is currently the quickest man on the track. So we'll keep an eye on that gap for you and tell you if he's closing.
Well, he's certainly closing on De Cesaris. Here they are. De Cesaris in third position in the lightweight Ligier with its Renault engine. And behind him, Michele Alboreto, soon, I think, to be third, although De Cesaris is a notoriously difficult man to get past. Warwick goes through. In the background, you may just think, yes, you did. There was Derek Warwick, who is in fifth position. And De Cesaris has pulled away just a little bit from Michele Alboreto on the climb to the Hotel de Paris. Now they drop down past the famous tip-top bar into the Mirabeau, the second gear right-hander. Down to Lowe's Station hairpin, the first gear. Now up into second for the Portier. Accelerating up into third through the tunnel. Third place De Cesaris, fourth place in the Scarlet Ferrari, number 27, Michele Alboreto. Prost has just completed another lap in the lead.
Well, De Cesaris signalled his intentions that he's not going to be a piece of cake to get past. He did that at Saint-Devant. He shut the door fairly firmly and quite fairly on Michele Alboreto, but he's in third place, and with full justification, he intends to defend it as vigorously as possible.
Let's see how it goes again as they approach Saint-Devant at the end of their 38th lap in third and fourth places. I think Michele Alboreto has decided to give it best just for a short distance. Closer than ever as he comes up to the Hotel de Paris. This could be his opportunity to come out of the slipstream of De Cesaris' car and get through on braking as they go down to the Mirabeau. But De Cesaris shuts the door, which fails, and Alboreto goes through beautifully.
Well, that was a risky manoeuvre by Alboreto. De Cesaris really looked as if he was going to have an accident about it. He tried to drive into Alboreto, and right at the last moment, he saw him. So at least he fended that off, because that would have been a great shame. Alboreto, now here we are. They're coming out of the casino square. The car goes very light there. Then a quick squirt, and down onto the brakes very hard. And Alboreto came really from a long way behind. I didn't think... In fact, I think, if anything, I was wrong in saying that. De Cesaris was within his right stern into the corner. Alboreto wasn't really alongside, and I think it was a bit cheeky on Alboreto's part, having seen that again. Came from too far behind, but anyway, his progress now continues. So Michele Alboreto up into third place, and now with plenty of daylight ahead of him to have a good run at the lead.
And now Derek Warwick is going to set about De Cesaris, because De Cesaris is down to fourth. Has got Derek Warwick closing up on him in fifth position. We're now at half distance in the race as you see the arrows of Thierry Boutsen being passed by Nigel Mansell, and on lap 40 the order is Alain Prost in the lead with De Angelis second, Alboreto third, De Cesaris fourth, fifth is Derek Warwick, sixth is Keke Rosberg, seventh is Mansell, eighth is Lafitte. And here is Alain Prost. I remind you that his teammate, the reigning world champion Niki Lauda, is out of the race, as are Theo Fabi, Riccardo Patrese, Nelson Piquet, Eddie Cheever, Stefan Johansson, Patrick Colby, and Gerhard Berger. And Prost is pulling away from De Angelis.
So Prost pulling away there, 38 laps to go. Well, now we're going back to the Grand Prix. We left it on the 40th lap. There were 78 laps in the race, and Alain Prost was out front when we left it then. Good long way to go yet. So let's go back live now to James Hunt and Murray Walker.
無能時代にトップ改装中に試験員でっていうのがありましたからね、クラッシュしてしまったというのが、だからそういう点でも慎重に完璧を目指して走ってますよね。
83年ルノー時代はトップと2ポイント差のランキング2位、
はい、
この前年84年はチームメイトニキ・ラウダと 0.5 ポイント差のランキング2位というところで、やはりこの85年シーズンプロストの走り、思うところというのはやっぱり違うものっていうのは感じられたんですか？
確実にちゃんとゴールをしてポイントを稼ぐ、そしてその積み重ねがチャンピオンになるっていうのをものすごく分かってますからね。83年も結局最終戦でひっくり返された、それは自分がリタイアしたからなんですよね。
実は苦しいここ最初のタイトルまでの5年間だったという感じもしますね、プロストはね。
ですから本当にこう苦しい中で苦労を重ねながらやってきた、でしかもルノーの時には結局チャンピオン取れなくて、もうルノーチームと大喧嘩になって、結局フランスにも居づらくなってしまった立場でしたからね。
さあそのアラン・プロスト初めてのタイトルに向けて、2年連続のモナコ勝利に向けてとも言えますが、トップ走行という形、そしてロータス・デ・アンジェリス、こちらは単独の2番手ということになります。デ・アンジェリスは5番グリッドからのスタートでした。プロストとはしかし18秒以上ギャップが広がっています。
そうですね。でもスムースで綺麗な走り方ですよね、デ・アンジェリスも。
さあトップ3台ですけれども、プロストがいてデ・アンジェリス、ミケーレ・アルボレートはまだトンネルの中です。さあ今度はデ・アンジェリスを追いかけてというアルボレート
で、ちなみに、アラン・プロストは79年 F3 ここモナコで勝ってるんですね。でその前の年にこの F3 で勝ってるのがデ・アンジェリスなんですよ。
なるほど。ただ F1 では、84年この前の年にプロストが勝ちました。94年にシューマッハが勝つまでセナとプロストしかモナコウィナーは生まれないんですけれどもね。
そうですね。ですからデアンジェリスがもうちょっと生きてていいマシン乗ってたらどうなったかなっていうのを見てみたい気がしましたね。
そうですね、リオ・デアンジェリスはこの翌年86年モナコグランプリの後のポール・リカールのテストで亡くなるということになりましたですからね。
それで、デアンジェリスはイタリアの領家の指定で、すごく、知性もあったし教養もあった人ですね。でピアノがすごい上手だったんだそうですね。セベール、デアンジェリスで、現代だとエイドリアン・スーティルがそうなんですけどね。
さあ画面はフェラーリミケーレ・アルボレートを捉えています。コース上で一番速いのはこの人。さあ果たして2番手デ・アンジェリスに追いつけるかどうかというレース展開です。アルボレート1分24秒012というファステストラップを出しています。23秒台がいよいよ見えてきました。トップはアラン・プロスト。ここから44周目を迎えるということになります。離れた2番手デ・アンジェリス、その後ろからミケーレ・アルボレートが猛追。さあアルボレート2番手になれるかどうかという展開ですが、現状ではトップ3まだ離れた状態での走行、それぞれ単独走行となっています。今はやはりこのミラボーのあたりもここまでのバンプはないなという感じもしますけれどもね。
基本のレイアウトは変わってないんですよね。特にこの山側は全く変わってなくて、
路面のいわゆる再舗装は行われているということですね。さあそしてポルティエからトンネルを抜けていくということになりますが、なんといってもこの先のシケインですよね。実は86年に改修されるということですが、
港湾改修事業の一環として海側に土地を広げた、そして、安全対策をしなきゃいけないということであそこが試験が変わったんですね。
今はヌーベル試験、つまり新しい試験というふうに申し上げますけれども、この時点では試験なんですね。
そうですね。
ですから、
もう簡単なレーンチェンジの試験1本だけですね。
モナコ改修の歴史でもあるわけですけれども、86年そのヌーベル試験ができた後、97年に今度はプールサイド試験が改修されて、ルイ・シロンという名前がつくわけですよね。
モナコ出身のグランプリドライバー元、そしてこの競技長だった人ですね。
そして2003年2004年記憶に新しい大改修があって、各チームにガレージもできましたし、そしてピットロード給油の向きというのも変わりました。
そうですね。そ そして、遡ると72年にプールができたんですね。でプール試験になって、それ以前はスタート地点がプールのあたりだったんです。ですから1コーナーが最終コーナーだったんですね。でもっとくるっと回るヘアピン状になってて、ああいうラスカスのこういう飛び出したような形になってなかったんですね。
1929年の第1回モナコグランプリから数えると、この85年で早くも第44回ということになるわけですが、
ですから今のスタート地点から1コーナー回ってこの試験あたりまでっていうのは基本的に1929年から変わってないんですね。
そして安全上の理由から、この85年シーズンも20台規制ということになっているわけですね。
そうですね。で特にこの85年からですね、その安全という問題が随分こう言われるようになったんですね。というのも実はもっとその遡るとこの85年モナコグランプリの開催自体が危ぶまれたんですよ。でそれは理由は実はテレビの放映権問題だったんです。なるほど。で当時コンコルド協定に基づいてこの FIFA の今の FIA のスポーツの前身ですけども、FIFA の方でテレビ放映権を一括管理しようとしたんですね。でジャンマリー・バレストロ会長が放映権の、管理に対してモナコにも合意しろと言ったんですが、モナコの自動車クラブ ACM の、ミシェル・ボエリ会長はもう基本的に嫌だ、絶対嫌だって言ったんですね。でしかもボエリとバレストロってもともと仲悪いんですよ。
パトリック・タンベイですね、スタート直後にリタイアしたドライバーですが今インタビューを受けています。続けてください。
そして結局その放映権に関しては、お互い話し合いをして開催に関しても、OK になったんですね。ただし放映権に関しては80年代後半までモナコは独自放映権管理ですからね。
なるほど。
で今も映像制作はモナコと日本とブラジルは独自制作ですからね。で結局その話の中でじゃあ話をまとめましたって言った時にバレストル会長は今度は自分がやってた安全対策のことを持ち出してきたんですね。
なるほど。
でモナコは危険じゃないかということで、それで回収しろというので、その時にコース査察官兼競技長のデレック・オンガロがでももう、86年に試験員も新しくなりますしっていうことでいろいろと収めたんですね。
なるほどね。プロストとアンジェリスのギャップは20秒761と広がっています。20秒差あります。注目はデ・アンジェリスの後ろからアルボレート届くかどうかということになりますが、こちらがそのミケーレ・アルボレート、前にデ・アンジェリスを捉えているかどうか。このオフィシャルたちはずっと立ってますね。
本当にねそのレベルが高くて、ですからその危険だっていう意見が出たとしても、このマーシャルたちの働きが、そしてこのメディカルスタッフがコースいっぱいいるんですけど、この働きがモナコを続けさせている理由なんですよね。
こちらはウィリアムズ・ホンダの2台ということになりますが、ロズベルグが前、マンセルが後ろです。ちょっと両者とも少しなんて言いますかね、出入りの激しいと言いますか、アップアンドダウンを繰り返してというここまでのレース展開ですが、今度はロズベルグよりもマンセルの方が速さがありそうです。ウィリアムズ・ホンダ2台が並ぶホームストレート。
当時のカーボンファイバーブレーキ難しかったんですね。やっぱり譲りましたね。
そうですね。あそこすごいですね、うねりが。
でも70年代の映像を見てもあんな感じでしたね。
今いかにこの路面があれで良くなったのかっていう感じもしますけれども、今も若干うねってますけれどもね。
ですからそのカーボンブレーキが難しいっていうのは、その発熱特性とかそういう部分が非常に難しかったと、今よりももっと難しかったそうなんですね。で面白いのは今回デアンジェリスとか何台かは鉄製のブレーキに戻してるんですよ。そのカーボンブレーキの感触が良くない、だから鉄製のブレーキの方がいいって言って戻しちゃったんですね。今ではもうカーボンのブレーキは当たり前というね、感じですけれども、せいぜいこのメーカーのブレーキの感じが良くないからこっちがいいとかっていうのがあるぐらいですもんね。おかげでブレーキメーカーのサービスマンは大忙しだそうですけど。
なるほど。 今ももちろんねブレーキのフィーリングを訴えるドライバーっていうのは多いわけですけれどもね、
一番顕著な例ですと2007年だとアロンソですよね、もうルノー時代から使ってた一子じゃないとっていうのがありましたもんね、
ただ素材はいずれもカーボンという中で、当時はまだ鉄製を好みで選びたいというドライバーがいた
だけは出たんですね、
さあ7番手のロズベルグ、そして10番手のブーツェン、その後ろからトップを行くプロストという3台になりました。それぞれの順位、それぞれのポジションでの走行ということになりますが、さあプロストが周回遅れを作っていくということになります。かなりロズベルグは後方に置かれてしまったようですね。
そうですね、
マンセルのマシンはもう見えません。さあここで2台まとめていくか、いきました。ホームストレート、ブルーフラッグの振られる中、アラン・プロストが前に出ました。ロズベルグの方はどうでしょう、やはりブレーキでしょうか。
でブーツェンがうまくやりましたね、
ブーツェンも前に出てますね、これね、今ね、
今もブーツェンはモナコに住んでますね。
そうですか、ベルギー人テイリー・ブーツェンですが、アローズのマシーン、ウィリアムズ・ホンダ、ケケ・ロズベルグがずるずると下がっていく、そんな印象です。
VIP 向けのビジネスプレーンのレンタルと販売の仕事を今モナコでやってます。
モナコならではのビジネスという感じもしますけれどもね。
そうですね、
さあそのブーツェン、そしてロズベルグをあっという間に突き放してアラン・プロストトップ独走という状況になっています。2番手にデ・アンジェリス、そしてその後ろミケーレ・アルボレートがひたひたとデ・アンジェリスとのギャップを詰めつつある、そんな状況です。ウィリアムズ・ホンダに話を戻しますと、86年この翌年に、タイトルを取るわけですよね、そのヒントとなるような動きというのはこの85年はあったんでしょうか。
このあとカナダからですね、新しい E スペックっていうエンジンが入ったんですね、でそこからそのホンダの今までの伝統だったビッグボア、要はシリンダーの径が大きくてショートストロークっていうものではなくて、ルノーの EF15 と同じなんですけど、シリンダーの径を小さくしてロングストローク、その方が火炎電波が良くて非常に特性が良くなるっていうのを見つけたんですね、ただエンジニア、これ市田克美さんというエンジニアが見つけたんですけど、結構時間かかっちゃったんですよ、というのもやっぱりホンダは伝統はビッグボアだっていう伝統があったために、それが実現化するのに少し遅れが出たんですね。
なるほど。ということはまだこのシーズン序盤、マンセル、ロズベルグの走りを見ても分かりますけども、まだまだ苦しいというウィリアムズ・ホンダという感じですか。
で結局市田さんはその試作エンジンを持っていってテストで走らせて、それで会社的には反対もあったそうなんですけど、走らせたらマンセルとケケがこのエンジンじゃなきゃ嫌だ、こっちじゃなきゃダメだって言ってくれたんで、ゴーサインが最終的に出たと言ってましたね。
なるほど、
いいように外圧を利用したって市田さんはおっしゃってましたけど、でそれからがホンダの快進撃の時代につながっていくんですね。1人の名前挙げましたけど、もちろんね、それはホンダのそのスタッフ全体が、コンピューター屋さん、8件っていう第8研究のコンピューター屋さんもそうでしたし、テレメトリやった人たちもそうだし、いろんなものがうまくいっていった時代なんですね。でもこの時期から始まっていくんですね。
さあしかしウィリアムズ・ホンダ、ナイジェル・マンセルは間もなくプロストに周回遅れにされそう、そんな雰囲気です。マクラーレン、タグポルシェターボということになりますが、ウィリアムズ・ホンダを追いかけて、さあローズヘアピン、ここはブルーフラッグが振られます。マンセルとしては譲らなくてはいけない。ポルティエアウトからあっさりとプロストが前に出ていきました。ただマンセルフロントロースタートなんですよね、このレースね、
非常にね予選も頑張ってうまくいってっていうところだったんですけどね、でしかもそのスロットルが完全に戻してもエンジンが回転が完全に落ちないっていうものすごい怖い思いしながら、頑張っての予選だったんですけどね、
結局マンセルはキャリア通算してここでは一度も勝てなかったんですね。
だからね、92年にセナトのバトルになった時に、やっぱり意地を最後まで見せたってそれなんですよね。
さあやはりかなりのギャップがあります。エリオ・デ・アンジェリス、これが単独の2番手、そしてまだミケーレ・アルボレートもその姿は見ることはできません。ただコース上で一番速いのはフェラーリ、アルボレートです。プロストはここから53周目、完全に独走状態になりました。ここでケケ・ロズベルグピットに入りました。ピットに入ってきました。タイヤを交換します。
ヘルメット荒いですね。
さあタイヤを交換してコースへと戻っていきます。これは当然イレギュラーのタイヤ交換ということになりますね。
そうですね、やっぱりねリアタイヤきついんですよ。特にホンダのまだこの時の B スペックのエンジン特性だと、急激にパワーがバンってあるところから立ち上がりますから、こうスムーズな加速をしたいっていうこの市街地コースね、非常に厳しいんですよね。
なるほどなるほど。そしていわゆる現代の F1 ですとそのタイヤへの厳しさというのは空力的なものというような言われ方もしますけれども、その差というのは当時はどうなんでしょうかね。
多少ありますよね、で特にモナコって現代もいろんなウィングレットつけたりしますよね、ところがこの年は前の年まではリアウィングの外側にウィングレットを翼端板の外つけてましたよね、ところがこの年からは禁止になりましたから、やっぱりそういう点ではダウンフォース欲しいよっていう車なんですね、みんな。ただロータスだけは、サイドポンツーンの後ろリアウィングの前にちょっとウィングレットをつけてて、これがうまくいってもうどんどんそれが流行っていくわけですよね、でどんどん規制してもいまだにそれが残ってるわけですよね。
そのルールとの追いかけっこというのは続いているということですね、
ですからリアウィングレットがなくなった、リアを抑える力が少し減った、それなのにエンジンの特性がスムーズに立ち上がってくれなくて急激にバーンってオイルスピンが起きるような状態だとリアがどんどん傷んでいくわけですよね。
なるほど、そして今よりもどうなんでしょう、モナコだからということもあるかもしれませんけれどもドライバーによって順位が違うなという感じがしますよね。チームメートが離れてますよね、順位がね。
やっぱりね、それでしかもこの時はパドルシフトではなくて、右手でシフトチェンジをしなきゃいけない、しかもシーケンシャルじゃないので、エッジ型のパターンのシフトを
そうなんですか、
普通の車のマニュアルシフトと同じなので、ですからそれを操作しながらの運転ですからね。ですから片手の運転の時も多いし、それで詳細なスロットルワーク、ブレーキワークをやって、このガードレールの中を走るわけですから、すごいですよね。
今以上にやはりドライバーの技量が占めるウェイトというのが大きかったかもしれませんね。
ですからケケが前にここで優勝した時にはもう手の皮が抜けちゃってたんですよね、右手の皮が。
さあジョナサン・パーマーを画面が捉えました。パーマーを追いかけてアラン・プロスト、パーマーを周回遅れに間もなくしようというところです。ザックスピード、ジョナサン・パーマーもまだコース上とどまっています。
でザックスピードは F1 にいる間ずっとこのウエストっていうタバコが、赤白でスポンサーついてたんですけど、後にマクラーレンに行きましたね。でマクラーレンに行った時にマクラーレンメルセデスの色を銀に合わせて、結局タバコのパッケージも銀になっちゃったんですよね
なんとなくチームとスポンサーとの力関係というのがね、見えなくもありませんが、さあジョナサン・パーマーをどこでかわしてくるでしょうか。アラン・プロスト、ここまでは本当に沈着冷静、ミスのないドライブが続いています。
このザックスピードは本当によく頑張ったチームですね、自分たちで車体もエンジンもやるっていうのはプライベートだったとしてはすごかったですよ。
そうですよね、さあアウトに振って、ただスピードが違う感じ。マクラーレンが今ザックスピードを置き去りにしていきます。マクラーレンのこの車についてはいかがでしょうか。
前年の改修型なんですね。
MP4-2B ということですね。
MP4-2 を85年レギュレーションに対応して改良してきた、でもう 前の年がいい車でしたよね、でさらにそういう点ではリファインしちゃって、より良くなってるんですよね、でもちろんタイヤがミシュランからグッドイヤーに変わったところが、タイヤが変わってもそれをうまく対応しちゃってるんですよ、この辺がね、このチームの技術力、特に、ある人に言わせるとパラノイアだって言われるんだけど、ジョン・バーナードの集中力とその技術の高さですよね。
どうなんでしょうか、プロストとニキ・ラウダはこの85年シーズン本当に対照的な、結果になるわけですけれども、プロスト向きだった
かもしれませんね、アルボレートがまた
そうですね、ミケーレ・アルボレートがファステスト23秒台です。1分23秒284というタイムを出しました。
で多分ラウダはもうその自分の時代ではなく、アランの時代が来たなっていうのをもう悟ったんでしょうね。特にその前の年のポルトガルでもそうだったでしょうし、あの時ね、表彰台でこれから君の時代だよって、プロストに言ったそうですからね。
そうですか、そして、ポルトガルグランプリこの年ですけれども、アイルトン・セナが初めてのポールポジション、初めての優勝というのも飾っていますが、セナについてはどうなんですか、こいつの時代が来るという空気はあったんでしょうかね、この時点で。
だから、ものすごくみんなそれを意識したはずなんですよね、でしかもその予選はうまく速い、決勝でもかなりガンガンいってしまう、ただまだ F3 から上がってきて、2シーズン目で、燃費管理とかそういう走り方ができてなかった、そこが彼の弱点だったけど、それをやられちゃったらこいつは恐ろしいなってみんな思ってたはずなんですよ、だから悪道セナとかみんな呼んでたし、で予選でブロックしやがったなこいつっていうので今回も怒られてしまったっていうのがあるんですね、でセナはその予選ブロックしちゃった後にですね、ラウダのとこ謝りに行ってるんですよね、そしたらラウダが、もう怒り心頭で切れまくってましたから、セナに対してうぜろって言ったんですね。
怖いですね、
そしたら結局でも、セナも予選用タイヤ旧タイヤとレース用タイヤをいろいろと試してたっていうのが分かって、この後のポール・リカールのテストで逆にラウダがあの時はごめんよって謝りに行ったそうなんですね。
それはセナがわざとブロックしたわけじゃないということが分かって、ラウダはテストで謝りに行った、
で謝りに行って、そしてでもラウダからごめんよって言ってもらえたドライバーって何人いるんだろうっていうのが当時の話題だったそうですね。
なるほど、
ただ、本当はね、ある程度意図的な部分もあったみたいですよ、その抑えたっていうのは、そういう点でもね、アイルトンってすごく狡猾な部分もありましたからね。
さあアローズのブーツェン、その後ろからミケーレ・アルボレートという状況です。クリーム色のシャシー、アローズのマシンを周回遅れにしようというところですが、
アローズはまだこの頃はデイブ・バスという人が設計してたんですね、そして87年から新人のデザイナーがマシンをデザインしたんですよ、眼鏡かけた大学生みたいな男だったんですけど、それがロス・ブラウンなんですね。
なるほど、アローズは BMW エンジンを使っていますが、このシーズンブーツェンが道を譲る形になりました。プロスト独走ですけれども、デ・アンジェリスにご覧のようにアルボレートが迫ってきています。ここにいましたアルボレート、
当然サインボードで分かってますからね。
そうですね、来ましたね、やはりここまでね、集中力を切らさずにここまで持ってきました。
で面白いのはアルボレートの車は、モノコックの表面がつるっとしててそのまま外に出てるんですよね、もう現代の F1 に近い設計なんです、ところがデアンジェリスのロータスは、モノコックの外側にカウルがつくっていう、
先ほどセナのマシンはねカウル全部持ち上げてましたもんね、
ああいう形で、昔のデザインなんですよね。
そういう意味ではフェラーリこのマシンは進んでいたということになりますが、さあフェラーリのアルボレートと6秒4というギャップ、2番手でアンジェリスと3番手アルボレート6秒4、差が詰まってきました。
ですから同じカーボンコンポジットのモノコックなんですけれども、
はい、
旧世代のロータスと新世代の始まりだったこのフェラーリの戦いでもあるんですよね。
ただそれが性能差がほぼイコールだったというところが面白いですよね。
そうですね。でしかもロータスは歴代最高のハンドリングマシンであったっていうのがまたすごいところですね。
このマシンはロータス、今黒いマシン映ってますけども、セナも絶賛だったそうですね。
もう人生で最高のマシンだと言ってましたから、
残念ながらそのアイルトン・セナ、レース序盤でこのモナコはリタイアしていますが、チームメートデアンジェリスは2番手。しかしその後ろからカーナンバー27フェラーリミケーレ・アルボレートがひたひたと迫ってきました。
ですからフェラーリもね、その今まではエンジンパワーありきで、そのどちらかというとこう荒っぽい車だったのが、この車はものすごくこう繊細に動きが取れる、すごく英国車的な動きなんですよね。
なるほど、はい。
ですからそこでこう鋭い走りができるアルボレートのいい時とちょうどあったんですよね。
さあローズヘアピンですが、当然アルボレート黒いマシンを捉えているはずです。もう少しです。さあ差が詰まってきました。海岸通りへと出ていきます。まあデアンジェリスとしては当然プッシュプッシュということになりますよね。
そうですね、
その指示は飛んでいるかと思いますが、フェラーリの方が速さがあります。そしてアクシデントがなかったら、あるいはねアルボレートはプロストの前を走っていたかもしれない、そのパフォーマンスがあります。
くしくもこれイタリア人同士の戦いなんですよね。
そうなんですね。逃げるフランス人、そして2番手3番手争いはイタリアン同士ということになります。
でこの15685っていうこのフェラーリなんですけれども、フィアットグループのスーパーコンピューターを借りて、実はキャドカムを使い始めた車なんですね。
さあジョナサン・パーマーが止まっている。おっとっと、そこにあわやというシーンでした。さあこれでしかし差が詰まったように見えます。ウエストのロゴが大きくありますが、ジョナサン・パーマーは、スピンターンでコースに復帰。おっと、そこに今度はリジェのマシンが来ている。さあこれでしかし差が縮まりました。2番手争い、ミダモタイヤスモークを上げています。ローズヘアピン、ロータスデアンジェリス、その後ろからフェラーリミケーレ・アルボレート。完全に小田さんこれは捉えました。
はい、もう完全にもうターゲットロックオンですね。
さあトンネルを抜けていく。全開で通り抜けるシケイン。果たしてアルボレートどこで仕掛けてくるでしょうか。幾度となくを
Lap 61 out of 78, and this is the excitement because Michele Alboreto in third place in the Scarlet Ferrari has conducted a fantastic charge through the field after having to stop to change a punctured left rear tyre. He has carved down the gap between himself and Elio De Angelis in the JPS Lotus Renault, who is second, and you can see that there is no gap now, and Michele Alboreto, who has led this race, is soon to be back in second place behind Alain Prost, the leader.
Yes, and this is really an important personal battle on home ground. The two top Italian drivers aspiring as well. Alboreto has had a very eventful race, of course. He led for a while, he then spun on the oil that was put down in accident at Saint-Devote early in the race, came back into the race only to retook the lead from Alain Prost. May have just brushed some barriers either in his spin or later, because he then had a puncture, went in and changed tyres, and another charge back through the field, and here he is now challenging Elio De Angelis for second place. A very stirring drive indeed from Alboreto. He's driven with real verve today.
And these two, of course, are the men who are leading the World Championship. Elio De Angelis in the black and gold JPS Lotus Renault is leading the championship on 16 points. And Alboreto is second with 12 points. And shows his nose of the Ferrari to Elio De Angelis. And on lap 63 then, Alain Prost there is the race leader ahead of De Angelis and Alboreto battling for second, with Cesaris in the Ligier in fourth position. In fifth place, the top English driver, Derek Warwick. In fifth position is Warwick. Sixth is Nigel Mansell. Seventh is Jacques Lafitte. And Alboreto really pressing Elio De Angelis now. Two quiet Italians. The concert pianist, Elio De Angelis, and the very calm and deliberate Michele Alboreto. Going through now to complete their 63rd lap. Now, behind them as Alboreto goes through and takes that second position in as stirring a passing manoeuvre, getting past De Angelis and Sander Vos as he had earlier on when he took the race leadership from Prost.
Tremendous stuff, because De Angelis is not taking that line down one little bit, and he was even having a little look inside going into the casino square. Now here we see it again, and again Alboreto, I think he solves Elio De Angelis a bit of a dummy and jumps him down the inside, and that was very good driving. Really, Alboreto has put on the most entertaining and stirring display today. His passing of Alain Prost earlier, when he did it at Sander Vos again, but round the outside that time, was really exciting stuff. So Michele Alboreto is now, as you see on the caption, 26.5 seconds behind race leader Alain Prost, who in fact has been taking it pretty easy out front. He's been pacing himself to De Angelis. He may now have to change pace a little bit. With only some 14 laps to go, he's got plenty of space with which to manoeuvre, so I don't think Prost will be getting very excited or worried out front there.
The gap is 26 seconds between the man you're looking at, Alain Prost, the leader, and Michele Alboreto, who is in second place, and they're on lap 65 out of 8. Third now is De Angelis, fourth is De Cesaris, fifth is Warwick, sixth is Mansell, seventh is Jacques Lafitte, eighth is Keke Rosberg, ninth is Thierry Boutsen, 10th is Jonathan Palmer, 11th of the last man running is Martin Brundle, and only five are on the same lap. Prost, De Angelis, Alboreto, De Cesaris and Derek Warwick. Alain Prost, as ever, has driven a smooth, effortless copybook race, pressurizing the men in front of him when he had to, withstanding pressure himself when he had to, and then that epic moment when he took the lead of the race, which he has held ever since. And as you can see, there's just about 13 laps to go now. Keke Rosberg is slowing down with Jacques Lafitte in front of him and Thierry Boutsen behind him. Rosberg in 8th position has been into the pits, but Nigel Mansell, his teammate, in 6th place. Looks as though he's going to finish in the points for the third race in succession. I tell you that everybody in this position, which by the way is out in the open here at Monaco with no cover over us at all, is looking apprehensively at the skies. If Alboreto and Prost maintain their positions, they'll be equal leaders in the championship on 18 points. That's interesting.
Yes, the sky, the cloud still looks high. I don't think it's going to rain, but it isn't half cold here. I'm rather stupidly sitting here in my Riviera shorts. Comes the sunny Riviera, I'm absolutely freezing. But I'm quite sure Prost isn't. He'll be working very hard. Of course, remember, it's terribly hot in the cockpit of those Grand Prix cars. You've got big heavy overalls on as well, and an extremely high rate of physical activity for the driver there. Hard, very hard work, remember, to drive these cars, and Prost and all the drivers will now be very, very tired indeed. It's really almost like a battle to hang on physically at this stage of the race. You get very high G loadings. You're being thrown around. It's bumpy. Look at the way the car goes light there over the hump out of the Casino Square. And they're doing something like 26 or 28 gear changes a lap around here. So whilst we say that to drive well, you've got to drive smoothly, you're pretty busy physically in the cockpit of these cars.
Yes, and you should never do mental arithmetic while you're talking to people because, of course, Prost and Alboreto would be in second position, equal, because De Angelis would still be leading the world championship if he finishes where he is. That remains to be seen. We're on lap 67 now, 78-lap race. There's the race leader. Still Alboreto second, De Angelis third, De Cesaris fourth. 26 seconds between the leader and the second place man. 5 seconds between Alboreto and De Angelis in third position. Then De Cesaris, the leading Pirelli tired car, in fourth place. That's the Ligier with the Renault engine. Then another Renault engined car. That is Derek Warwick in fifth place with Nigel Mansell, 1 lap behind in sixth place, on his way to another world championship. On the same lap as Jacques Lafitte, who is 7th, Keke Rosberg, who is in 8th position. Thierry Boutsen is 9th, 2 laps behind the race leader. 10th is Palmer, 11th is Brundle, only 11 men still driving.
Yes, and as you mentioned just now, De Cesaris' performance running in a nice steady fourth place. His performance on Pirelli tyres is certainly their best performance to date in a Grand Prix, and very encouraging really for Grand Prix racing in general, because we need 2 tyre companies involved. Pirelli have been improving, but this is certainly their most competitive performance yet, although one shouldn't maybe get too excited about that, because this is a peculiar circuit, and tyres that work here may not necessarily be any good anywhere else. So, but I think we all hope that Pirelli will get fully competitive as soon as possible, because that will be good for the sport.
Just look at the way Michele Alboreto is throwing that V6 Ferrari about with some 750 horsepower under his foot. They're doing about 175 miles an hour when they come out of the tunnel, and nearly 170 miles an hour as they go up the hill. A quite incredible performance, and the gap between Prost and Alboreto is still 26 seconds, just under, so that shows you how quickly Prost is going. He's got his race rhythm, he's not easing up. He's coming up now to Derek Warwick to lap him, and Warwick is in 5th place, 1 minute and 24 seconds behind Alain Prost. That's just about right, because the fastest lap that we've had so far is Michele Alboreto at just over 1 minute 23 seconds. There is definitely light rain now. The papers on the bench in front of me are starting to get spotted with rain. It's not yet going to affect the circuit, of course, the track, and it affects Prost just as much as it'll affect Alboreto and all the rest of them. Now, is Derek Warwick going to move over? There's the blue flag to tell the Englishman in the Renault that there is somebody behind him and he should move over and let him through.
Well, this must be a deja vu nightmare for Alain Prost. Out there with a comfortable lead, should he push hard? Now, although there certainly isn't enough rain as yet to have made the track wet or in any way slippery, but Prost will probably have seen the spots of rain on his visor, and then you're in that terrible dilemma where you're not quite sure how wet the track's going to be at each succeeding corner as they arrive. And so you tiptoe a little bit and then kick yourself afterwards when the track turned out dry. But Prost will be aware of the spots of rain, and he will remember that disaster some 3 or 4 years ago when he was leading the race with only a few laps to go in the Renault and got on to let it all get away from him coming out of the chicane, which is where he's headed for right now.
Yes, and Alain Prost, who had a magnificent victory, just beating Ayrton Senna last year in the torrential rain conditions, is now on his 70th lap in this 78-lap race, with Michele Alboreto in second position, with Elio De Angelis in that third place, ahead of fourth man Andrea De Cesaris in fifth position, Derek Warwick in sixth position, Nigel Mansell. Derek Warwick has been lapped by the race leader, so only the first four are on the same lap. Jonathan Palmer, having spun at Saint-Devote, holding up Michele Alboreto, who is then in the lead with Alain Prost just behind him. And Jonathan Palmer got going again and is on his way to completing his first Grand Prix in the German Zack-Speed car, with its four-cylinder engine, going very slow indeed compared with Prost, who passes on the outside, going into the Mirabeau, then down to Lowe's station hairpin in first gear, rolls it round. Just a burst of acceleration up into second gear for the Portier, through into the tunnel. Michele Alboreto goes through, still in second position, of course, with Elio De Angelis in third position. There was definitely, we've noticed a puff of smoke from Alain Prost's exhaust as he's changed down for Saint-Devote. That doesn't mean to say that there's necessarily anything wrong seriously with the car, but it is not meant to do that. So keep an eye open on the rear. There, you saw it again as he goes into the swimming pool. Now the gap is maintained consistently at 26 seconds between race leader Alain Prost, who's coming through to complete his 71st lap, and Michele Alboreto. There he is in second position. Prost completes the lap. 26 seconds was the gap. Here is Alboreto. There goes Prost up the climb to the Hotel de Paris. Now it is definitely starting to rain lightly. Nothing like the heavy pouring rain that we had last year. Prost on the descent, and the gap now is 22 seconds.
Yes, so Prost's memory is certainly working for him. He saw the spots of rain on his visor. That's how he would have known it was raining. And look at that smoke. It's getting quite smoky out of the back of the McLaren. But I suspect the decrease in the gap was much more Prost being very circumspect in case he came on a bit of a damp patch somewhere. But that looks like oil burning to a much greater extent than it should. Now, they carry a very, very large quantity of oil, so if it's just burning a bit of extra oil, that shouldn't be a problem for the McLaren. But smoke out of the back like that, as Murray says, is never a healthy sign.
John Barnard, the car's designer, and the race and Joe Ramirez, and of course Ron Dennis, all the top McLaren men will be watching the car very carefully. Just remember what that gap was on the it was 26 seconds on the lap before last. Last lap it was 22 seconds. There is Alboreto. Prost has gone through to complete his 71st lap in this 78 lap race. He's only got to pace himself at this speed, definitely to win it. Watch that smoky exhaust. Alboreto is coming out of La Rascasse. The seconds are ticking away. Prost is on his way down, and the gap now is 20 seconds. And Elio De Angelis has got Jacques Lafitte behind him. Elio De Angelis, who is in third position, and Michele Alboreto is catching Prost, but not fast enough for victory, even if he gets on the rear of the Ferrari, because then he's got to get past. The race order is Prost, Alboreto, De Angelis. De Cesaris is fourth, Warwick is fifth, Mansell is sixth.
Yes, and Jacques Lafitte goes fast. Now, to explain what's going on there, he's only unlapping himself from De Angelis, and De Angelis has slowed up because he's got a plentiful cushion over fourth place man, De Cesaris. He doesn't want, of course, to exhaust his fuel supply, so he's taking it easy, and Jacques Lafitte, meanwhile, is chasing hard Nigel Mansell, and he is in a position possibly to catch him.
Stopwatch time again, the end of lap 73. The race leader, Alain Prost.
And there's something definitely coming out of the back of Prost's car then. Now you see the puff of smoke, but there, when it's done, that was a gear change, the first puff, but the second one, it's actually smoking under power, which is even more of a worry. And it appears to be coming out of the breather over the gearbox. So, it's blowing a bit, but he hasn't got too far to go.
Lap 74 he's on, and Michele Alboreto is really flying. He's significantly closing the gap between himself and smoky Alain Prost's McLaren. Into the tunnel on lap 74 goes McLaren. Michele Alboreto has got two tail-enders in front of him that he's got to get past. They will make it easy for him because they'll see in his mirrors that he's closing.
And you might have seen the oil flags, the red and yellow stripe flags out in the tunnel to denote that there's oil or something else slippery on the track, and I suspect that that might be Prost's own oil that he was being warned about then as he went through, because it seems to be weeping a bit.
Now here he is completing his 54th lap.
Yes, and he had a bit of a slide then through Rascasse. He caught it well, but that may just be oil coming out of the car into his rear tyres.
Yes, you saw it then. He's definitely in trouble. Alain Prost on his 75th lap as he goes up to the Hotel de Paris. I'll just give you the gap with Michele Alboreto coming out of La Rascasse towards us. It is now 15, 16. Over the line goes Alboreto, taking Martin Brundle, and it's 18 seconds.
It's going to get pretty tricky for Prost. If his car is blowing oil onto the rear tyres, believe you me, they get pretty nasty to drive when they got oil on their rear tyres. And we saw quite a slide then, but the gap is adequate at the moment. The rate at which Prost is losing ground, as it were, to Alboreto is adequate for him to come across the line ahead.
Yes, lap 75, Prost leading, Alboreto gaining second. De Angelis still in third and will lead the World Championship at the end of this race if he finishes there. De Cesaris is fourth, Warwick is fifth and has been lapped. Mansell is sixth, Lafitte is seventh, Rosberg is eighth, Boutsen is ninth, Palmer is 10th, Brundle is 11th, and the last man still running in the non-turbo Tyrrell as down to La Rascasse in the closing stages of lap 75. And Michele Alboreto going through and Derek Warwick to lap him, and Warwick is in fifth position. And Prost is approaching me now. Prost goes past me now, and Michele Alboreto is coming out of the swimming pool complex of corners into La Rascasse, and I think it's going to be another 2 seconds gain, but as James has just said, that is not nearly enough in the 3 laps to the left, including the one that they are on now. And you can see, by the way, that the tyres are definitely getting wet. In fact, Prost has extended his lead. It is now 21 seconds. And the spots of rain are increasing in intensity. It's going to be, I think, a wet couple of last laps. And the oil flag marshal pointing ahead of him into the tunnel as Prost goes into it on his 76th lap with 77 and 78 laps to go. The 77th and 78th of this one. But he has a 21-second cushion between himself and Michele Alboreto, and if he can just keep the car running, that is more than enough.
Yes, there's more drizzle now than there has been before, but still not enough to actually make the track surface wet. It just needs a little bit more to liven it up that way, and of course that would be a big problem for Prost if he's got oily rear tyres, because a bit of water mixed in with that lot makes things makes it really a major handful. However, Prost looks pretty steady, pretty collected. He knows how far away Alboreto is. He knows he has only got to keep things together and get it home mechanically to win the race.
And Prost is coming up to a couple of tail-enders who are going to delay him. I don't think he's going to take a chance to try and get past them, and I don't really see why he should. The gap between Prost and Alboreto is 18 seconds still. So although Alboreto definitely close, and the smoking car there was De Cesaris' or was it Lafitte's Ligier? Let's have a look. It's De Cesaris' car. De Cesaris is in trouble, and he is in fourth place. Right behind him, you see one of the Williams cars, and taking him into the tunnel as Prost comes out of the tunnel. He's got the Williams in front of him, and in front of the Williams is the troubled Andrea De Cesaris in fourth place. We're on lap 77 now, and Prost seems not to be troubled at all from the way he went past the Williams there. Now he's closing up on and about to lap the fourth place man, who is Andrea De Cesaris, and Prost will be going through now to start his last lap. We're watching the officials at the start here to see one of them step forward and hold up the one finger, which indicates that the race leader, Alain Prost, who is in charge of the running of the race, as he controversially was last year, has indicated to Alain Prost that he is now on his last lap in the lead for the second year in succession, and he's facing, as he did last year, rain, but not nearly as heavy as it was in 1984. Alain Prost is about to, if he finishes this lap, not only win, but give himself another 9 World Championship points to make it 18 altogether, and that will give him equal World Championship second rating with Michele Alboreto charging hard in third position, but the championship leadership will still be held by Elio De Angelis, adding 4 points to the points he already has, 16, 20 in all. But this is the man. Prost leads on the last lap, Alboreto second, De Angelis third, De Cesaris still fourth, Warwick fifth, Mansell sixth. There's Prost. And Lafitte is now up into sixth position, ahead of Nigel Mansell. It looks as though Nigel Mansell is not, after all, going to get that cherished 1 World Championship point. But here is the leader, here is the winner, Alain Prost, in the Marlboro McLaren with the tag engine for the second year in succession, wins the Monaco Grand Prix. He will jam on his brakes, I'm sure, because he will want to make sure that his car is not underweight, as it was adjudged to be at San Marino, but he's going to go on and do that victory lap. So, subject to official confirmations, Alain Prost wins the Monaco Grand Prix from Michele Alboreto second, Elio De Angelis third, Andrea De Cesaris fourth, Derek Warwick in fifth position, and Jacques Lafitte in sixth place.
So Prost's second win of the season. Of course, it would have been his third, but for being disqualified after that San Marino Grand Prix a couple of weeks ago when the car was underweight. Let's confirm the positions for you. Prost gets 9 points today. Alboreto 6, De Angelis 4, De Cesaris 3, Warwick 2, and Jacques Lafitte 1. We'll confirm what that means as far as the Drivers' Championship table.
ただアルボレート、そしてアラン・プロストが18ポイント、2ポイント差で迫っています。このレース、アイルトン・セナはノーポイント、ランキング5位、9ポイントとなっています。そしてコンストラクターズチャンピオンシップですけれども、ロータスが29ポイントでトップ、フェラーリ22ポイント、マクラーレン21ポイント。この3チームというのは小倉さん分かりますけれども、接戦の予感がする第4戦ですよね。
そうですね、
改めて85年のモナコ、最終的にはアラン・プロストが制したわけですが、振り返っていかがでしょうか。
やはりプロストのその、強さ、堅実な勝ち方、これが本当に見て取れましたね。そしてやはりアルボレート、タイヤがパンクして2位になりましたけど、やっぱりドライバーの評価に厳しいエンツォ・フェラーリが見込んで選んだ男、その速さ、鋭さが見えましたよね。もうこの年のミケーラは本当に考えてましたね。
さあ、コ・レーニエ対抗からトロフィーを受け取ってアラン・プロスト、フランス国歌です。 さあ今ここでアルボレートとプロストが握手を交わしました。
はい、アルボレート遅れてきたんですね。
そうですね、
はい、ちょっと国歌が当時は生演奏じゃないんですね。
さあプロストが高々とトロフィーを掲げました。さあそこにデアンジェリスもやってきたようです。マクラーレン、フェラーリ、そしてロータスの3人が表彰台。タイトルへの思い強めるアラン・プロストの勝利で85年のモナコグランプリ幕を閉じるということになりました。 F1 レジェンズ、ここまでの解説小倉重則さんでした。小倉さん、どうもありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。